I'm Trisha Adebiachum. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the vice president of the Robert Sterling Clark Foundation. More importantly, I am the daughter of immigrants from Ghana, which is a beautiful country that was recently added to the travel ban list. And I'm the auntie of so many incredible nibblings whose promise is really, really great, but whose future feels pretty uncertain right now, if I'm being honest. And for me personally, it's just an honor. It's an honor to be hosting this opportunity for all of you to get to know Mamukdi better as one of their funders for many, many years. This particular moment that we're in is not just about vibrancy, it's about resistance. It's about resisting political polarization, systemic upheaval, and keeping us on a path towards an even more liberated version of this country, right? And so Mamukdi's work of cultivating embodied intersectional leadership for women of color and gender expansive leaders has never been more urgent. Mamukdi is will raise 300,000 by the end of 2025. And we hope that you can be a part of this work of expanding the core of their programs and their infrastructure. That 300,000 is part of a 3-year milestone that they're hoping to reach of raising $1.5 million to scale core programs and infrastructure. So all of these are sort of the short and longer term goals, but in the immediate need, we would love to be able to just raise $150,000, right, from wherever and as many folks as we can, so that Rusia, who everyone has named today, can take their first sabbatical after 30 years of work in this movement, right? This is such a constant refrain that the people who are nourishing others are often the last people to nourish themselves, right? Can we give Rusia this gift?
Mamukdi advances systemic change
by resourcing and elevating the leadership of
women, especially women of color and gender expansive people,
to acutely align across movements. We do this by nurturing new,
profound ways of being, creating cultures of healing, solidarity, and action.
We seed new ways of leading, centered in joy and love,
that are rooted in well-being and wholeness, justice and interdependence. We envision a future where women and gender expansive leaders,
especially Black, Brown, Indigenous women of color, lead our movements with full resourcing,
cultural rootedness, and political power.
In this future, collective self-determination has taken root, and movements thrive
through sustainable leadership ecosystems.
My name is Rusia Mahuddin. I'm the founder and co-director of Mamukdi. Also the main driver of one of the projects inside of Mamukdi, which we'll learn a little bit more about, Universal Partnership. Mamukdi is the name Mamukdi. What does it mean? It means mother liberation. And the organization is named after and inspired by the life and legacy of service of my beloved late and great mother, Mansoura Mukti Mahuddin, who is the first daughter of the father of the independent struggle of Bangladesh, Mushur Rahman Jadumia. And of course, he named his first child Mukti, which means liberation.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the ecosystem of Mamukdi. So we're cultivating a living ecosystem where women and gender expansive leaders are nurtured, supported, and empowered to lead with their full potential. Really, the ecosystem operates like nature itself. It's interconnected, it's adaptive, it's regenerative. Leaders enter at different points and engage in ways that honor their lived realities and their current capacity. And what makes this model really powerful is that participants, they naturally evolve into peer coaches, facilitators, and movement leaders who are strengthening the entire network of leaders and the movement. So we're building sustainable leadership infrastructure that regenerates itself. You can picture Ma Mukti as the fertile soil where leadership and healing and transformative action, they all take root together. Ma Mukti is our community identity. It's the space where belonging and transformation intersect. Universal partnership functions as the root system. It's the at times unseen but essential operational engine that powers all of Ma Mukti programming. UP or UP channels resources, maintains program quality and rigor, and ensures the accountability structures that make our work consistently transformative. The RISE campaign, which you'll learn more about later, is our strategic blueprint for ecosystem evolution, how we ensure this living system can grow and deepen and sustain itself while maintaining the healing-centered culture that makes our work transformative. So at our foundation is embodied leadership, the understanding that lasting change requires leaders who are grounded in body, mind, and spirit. It means making decisions from a place of wholeness, leading with authentic presence, and building movements that honor both individual and collective healing. So we center joy and love and justice and interdependence, not as like feel-good abstract concepts, but really as strategic necessities for sustainable change. Traditional leadership models are not proving sufficient, and we need infrastructure that nourishes and replenishes leaders. So Ma Mukti creates exactly that, a holistic system and ecosystem where healing is integral to the work. Leadership emerges from lived experience, and sustainability is foundational. It's not negotiable.
Okay, so our overview of the vision and mission of Ma Mukti. Our purpose in Ma Mukti is to drive systemic change through innovative leadership development approaches. Using embodied leadership, we prioritize body-centered practices for sustainable movement building, and resilience. The purpose is to create a collective transformation for our work that ripples throughout organizations and movements.
One of the joys of being here today is seeing so many familiar names from our Ella Summit. So our Emergent Leaders for Liberation and Action, our first summit happened last December. If you came to the summit, maybe like smile at yourself or like smile in your Zoom box or put a heart in the chat. That was our first gathering. Our next summit will be in April 2026 in the place I live, Philadelphia, which I'm really excited about. And it was just a transformative space. Another really important audience that's here is organizers, right? Like all of what many of us talked about that is troubling and really challenging in our times. Like we know those conditions shift with people power. And the LEO program, Leaders of Embodied Organizing, allows for everything that we're talking about today, this embodied leadership practice, somatics, that to be embedded into our organizing framework so that organizers at the front lines also have access to these very tools, both that we got to practice today and that we know are so critical to our ability to maintain ourselves as we continue the resistance that Trish talked about. One program that's really dear to my heart, though all of these are, can't really lie, it's like picking between children, is WELL, or Warriors for Embodied Liberation. Another shout out to all the Wellers in the space. I know many of you are here. WELL is a 2-year certified embodied leadership and coaching program. It centers the leadership of Black and brown women, femmes, and non-binary people. And it's really a key certification pathway to grow that ecosystem that Rose talked about and to ensure that whether folks come in through the summit or through LEO, if they're really moved and called to take their skills to hold groups in this way to the next level, that there is a pathway for them. So shout out to everyone in WELL, and another opportunity to toss in the chat if you carry that WELL identity and family connection. And then finally, we know that folks aren't always going to be able to enter or remain connected, through a more intense pathway. And so there are an additional set of retreats that were present inside of that ecosystem graphic that Rose spoke about, and things like 30 Day Up, which are spaces for trauma-informed healing and daily resilience practices that are often virtual and so that folks can touch in from anywhere that they are, and allow for shared practice space in a values aligned and a space, as Rose spoke about, that allows us to continue to build that belonging and that resiliency that is so deeply needed in these times.
So RISE is an acronym for Resource, Ignite, Solidarity, and Embodiment. It's not just a campaign, it's a direct intervention in how leadership happens in our movement. It centers and advances the leadership of women of color and gender expansive people who've always been driven grassroots change, but are rarely the ones resource protected or in power. And so the problem was clear. We do the work, but remain unrepresented in top leadership. So RISE exists to change that by resourcing women of color leaders, organizing for structural power shifts, and embedding practices that sustain our leadership over the long haul. And what does RISE do to make themselves separate and apart from other programs and campaigns? It's an organizing campaign, with the ELA program serving as its leadership development program that Sim just spoke about. We combine political strategy, somatic practice, and deep relational work work to shift who leads and how. RISE centers the lived experiences, wisdom, and resilience of women of color as a strategy, not as a side note. What do we ask from this? If you care about strong, sustainable movements, invest in the leaders you've always held us together. RISE is the future of that movement leadership, embodied, powerful, and led by those closest to the struggle.
Yeah, I was just appreciating Rose's invitation to witness nature, right? And how the work that we're doing is mirroring that. And one of the things, as someone who comes from an evaluation background, like one of the things that we're always doing is spotting patterns, right? Like what has happened in the past is the thing that's likely, if uninterrupted, is the thing that will happen in the future. And this is the work that Mamukti has been up to for the past several years, right? So one of the reasons why it's so exciting to think about supporting this organization more deeply into the future is because of the work that Mamukti has already done. In just the past few years, Mamukti supported over 500 leadership journeys, which looks like transformative experiences for diverse leaders, like some of the folks that you're seeing on the call today. Of those people, 50% of those folks take that opportunity and actually call themselves into even more leadership, right? Expanded roles, taking on different roles within the movement ecosystem, right? And then this is the most important thing. We're hearing over and over again how as structures fail, right? As institutions shift, what we have are connections, right? And so 75% of those 500 plus folks that have gone through this program are still in relationship with both Mamukti and with each other post-program, right? And so this is what we can expect more of when we invest in Mamukti into the future.